Hey, mes paroles valent cher. Salut à tous. J'espère que vous allez bien. LeChairman pour vous servir. Les Guesnay m'appellent LeChair, les Fimbi ensemble, mais les deux sont corrects anyway. Sarcel représentant, Secte Abdoulaye évidemment. Bienvenue sur OuiHustle, c'est toujours ton émission qui rassemble les motifs. Au fil des émissions, nous recevrons différentes personnalités qui viendront s'asseoir à ma table, nous parler de leurs échecs, mais surtout de leurs réussites. Alors, Hugo, take a seat, non? Don't get it twisted, man. We're gonna make it. Even though your brother from the borough, you know what I'm saying? For real. PDG, let's get it.
We hustle, baby. LeChairman. We hustle, baby. LeChairman. We hustle, baby. LeChairman.
De retour sur OuiHustle et aujourd'hui, I'm really glad to have in the big bro, Mutah Beale, also known as Napoleon.
Hey, brother, how's everything?
I'm doing okay. What about you, dog?
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure's mine, man. Happy to be here, brother. Happy to be here.
It's my pleasure. For really, it's an honor. The
Thank you,
legendary Napoleon.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
How was the trip?
Trip was good. It was easy. You
Really?
know what I mean? Came in today, early this morning. It was good. It was easy. It's very hectic. The airport was very crowded, but other than that, it was okay.
A little bit tired? No?
A little bit tired, but we all good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So, can you introduce yourself in few words, please?
Yes. Bismillah. Salatu wassalam. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My name is Mutah Beale. You know, some may know me as Napoleon, a former member of the Outlawz with Tupac, and just chilling, man, taking it easy. You know, that's it.
We're gonna talk about your childhood. You know,
Yes,
so your parents got murdered when you just was 3 years old. What was the feeling at the time? Because you seen the body during 24 hours cut up on the floor and stuff. So what was that feeling?
You know, at 3 years old, of course, there's probably some impact that I don't remember or can recall. But at 3 years old, witnessing the death of your parents, even if I didn't realize then or even now, I'm sure it had some impact growing up, you know. But as a kid, as you mentioned, I was in a house, me and my brother, my brother Mooney, my brother Camille, we were in the house with 24 hours for a whole day with the dead bodies until a family friend came and discovered us. You know, it definitely was tragic. To be able to witness that. You know, of course, you know, I thank God that he probably allowed me, I thank God that he allowed me to be raised with my grandmother, you know, and family members that I had that actually did a real good job giving us a good upbringing to the best of their ability, you know?
So sometimes the brain protects the individual, you know what I'm saying? So did you keep that crazy story in mind?
I think it, you know, growing up, you think about it from time to time. Family members talk about it. You know, I spoke about it in music before. You know, that was like therapy for me, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about your father. What was his job at that time? It was a diamond dealer?
Yes, my father was like what you can say a businessman, entrepreneur. You know, he had, like my aunt and them would tell me that aunt and uncle told me he used to sell diamonds, which is very dangerous, especially in the 80s. You know, if you come in from a predominantly, you know, Black American neighborhood, and you selling diamond, that's a cash business, you know. So I don't know how he got the diamonds, and he would travel around America, purchase them from different people, go back in LA, sell it for a higher price, and it became very dangerous. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much his death was over that business, from what we know. You know?
So he was murdered by his own friend.
His own friend.
Yeah.
His own friend. Yes.
Crazy story.
Yeah, man, his friend was, not only was his old friend, he was a person that used to sit at my grandmother's table and eat at my grandmother's house, call my grandmother mommy, as if, you know, like he was my father's brother. And money came between them. You know what I mean? Money came between them. You know, it was crazy growing up. You hear so many different stories. You don't know which one is what. You know, which one really is the truth. But he definitely was killed by one of his closest friends.
So what was the sequel? He got arrested?
He got arrested. If I'm not mistaken, it was about 4 of them. I think maybe more, maybe less, about 4. Some of them died in prison. One of them is still in prison. The main guy, he's still in prison to this day.
Oh.
He's still locked up. Because in America, when they give you life in prison, you have life in prison. You don't come home, so.
Okay. So
Yes.
let me know why you kill your mother.
Basically,
she wasn't in the business though.
they went to the house to kill everybody, even me and my brothers.
Even you?
Yes. Even my brother. They actually said in the courthouse when the judge asked them, "Were you planning to kill the kids?" They said yes, but we ran out of bullets shooting the mother. So if my mother didn't take these bullets, these 13 shots, they was gonna turn around and kill me and my brothers.
Oh man, crazy shit.
Crazy, brother.
Hey, I heard about your father. He had a flashy lifestyle.
Yes, yes.
Purchases a lot of houses for your grandparents,
Yes,
for his
yes.
wife. Then,
Yes.
so did you have a little bit memories about that?
Yeah, I remember my father actually bought a house for his parents, my grandmother. He bought a house for us and my mother. So we lived in a house with a backyard growing up. I remember he had these Cadillac Sevilles. I used to see a lot of pictures back in the day when Cadillac Sevilles came out. They was like the hottest car. So him and his crew, they all used to ride around with these Cadillac Sevilles. My mother, I remember she used to always have gold around her neck or gold on her wrist. She always had a lot of gold.
You look like to your dad a lot.
You think so?
Oh, a lot.
That's good.
So after that, so you live in your grandparents' houses,
Yes.
with your cousin and stuff. So
Yes.
what was that situation? It was work.
It was because my grandmother was a very loving person. And the way I was raised with my cousins, me, my brothers, and my cousin, we all lived together like brothers, So it was like moving into my grandmother's house was like having more family, more brothers.
It was a very packed house.
Very packed house. My grandmother didn't say no to anyone. If a relative from anywhere come and say I don't have a place to go, my grandmother would say stay in the house. So the house was always crowded. Always packed.
So what about your childhood? You start writing poetry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's it, man. I would go home. I would go from school directly to my bedroom and just start writing, whatever I would see outside in my neighborhood. At this particular time, it was the late 80s. So I would say it was the, late 80s, early 90s. So it wasn't that many rappers now. So it was rare. Like every neighborhood might have one rapper or someone trying to be a rapper. So in my neighborhood, we just had a few. And I was one of them that was known. So I would go, whatever I would see people in the street do in my neighborhood, I would make a song and I would go rap it for the drug dealers. And they would pay me money. Say that again. Say it again. You know what I mean? And I used to tell them, no, you got to pay me. If you want me to say it again, give me a quarter. You know what I mean? So that's how I started really getting serious.
Hustler.
Hustler, bro. You have to. You know what I mean? Young hustler.
So which rapper influenced you?
Growing up, what can I say influenced me? I think I leaned more towards West Coast artists.
Really?
Yes, even though I was from New Jersey, but that particular time growing up, my neighborhood in Irvington, because it was violent, so at that particular time, a lot of East Coast rappers wasn't really not all of them, but a lot of them was speaking about other things, fun and dancing and partying. Even though you had some MCs from the East Coast that was talking about what's really going on in the ghetto, but at that particular time, I think in the late '80s, early '90s, the rise of West Coast music came, and they started really putting emphasis on what you see and what you go through in the neighborhood, and that's what I was really seeing in my neighborhood, from my brothers, from my cousins. So I kind of leaned toward that. You know what I mean?
Do you remember about your first rap?
I think I remember the hook, the first rap, or the name of the title was one of the first songs that I actually recorded was called Money and Murder.
Oh.
Money and Murder. It said, money got me feeling like a star, but murder got me feeling like my death ain't far. You know what I mean? It was also that hook was written by a friend of mine, childhood friend of mine. But that was my, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, that's what I was rapping about.
You was talking about your environment.
My environment.
Yeah. So what about Queen Latifah?
Queen Latifah,
It's
yes.
like your auntie, no? Ain't
She's
it?
like she's Queen Latifah, I would say she was always like a family member. She used to come to my aunt's house, my grandmother's house. She was real close friends to a cousin of mine. So we knew Queen Latifah growing up, And she used to always hang at my cousin's house. So the first time I saw her on television, I really said, then I can do it because she was here with us in the hood. Look at her now. So I know I can be like her. You know what I mean?
You still in touch with her?
I haven't spoken to her in years, bro. So, you know, she doing her thing now. She's big. She's doing movies. And
Yeah,
doing,
but family is family.
yeah, you know, we wasn't family, but friends, you know.
Okay.
But if I see her, for example, if I ever see her, she would be like, hey, Mutah, how you doing? Like, you know, she's always been nice.
Okay.
Whenever we seen her, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I have to talk about C and Arabie.
Yes.
Yeah, they were really involved in your rap career.
Yes.
So the beginning,
Yes.
by the way. So can you tell us something about them?
C and Arabie. Man, you did your research, huh? You really did.
A little bit.
You really did your research, man. C and Arabie was two dudes from my neighborhood. Arabie lived around the corner from me. C lived on the same block but up the street. And they were local drug dealers.
Oh.
So they was local hustler drug dealers in the neighborhood. And they was like what we would call the big homies. Like they was my big homies, you know? So when they realized that I had some talent, they wanted me to not get caught up in the streets. So they would come to me and say, you know, when I was out selling drugs, they was like, why are you trying to sell drugs? And at that time, I just wanted money for clothes or sneakers or whatever. It's not like I needed food because my grandmother and them, they took care of us, you know. I just wanted the latest sneakers, you know. So they was like, man, don't do this because you have talent. You don't throw your life away on this corner. Don't follow us. You know, if you want to go in the studio, and I also said I'm selling drugs because I want to go in the studio, you know, meaning back then studio time costs a lot of money. So when you're 14 years old, you might not have $100 to pay for 1 hour.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Or $50, $100. So they was like, look, we will help you. You know what I mean? Don't throw your life away on this corner. Whenever you want to go to the studio, we're going to put you in the studio. We're going to make sure that you are one of the guys to make it out of the hood. And they kept their word, bro.
I have to talk about Pac.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Gaddafi, sorry, introduced you to Pac.
Yes.
That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
so tell me the sequel, please.
Basically, because Gaddafi was you know, me and him, our birthdays was close apart. His mother knew my family. She would take me around his house, you know. Years went by later. I lost contact with him and I ran into his mother. And when she found out I was trying to do music, she introduced me to Pac, you know. She took me back to New York. That's pretty much the basic I don't want to upset her, you know what I mean? Go too much details and, you know.
But so the funny thing and the bottom line is that when we think about Pac, from our perspective, Pac
Yes.
was a street guy, talking loud all the time, you know, acting rough sometimes, and then you gave him your story. And
Yes.
he shed a tear.
Yes. Well, the first time I met Pac and he asked
He
me
was
about
really sensitive.
He had a sensitive side in him, you know what I mean? When I told him that my mother and father got murdered in front of me, he started crying. I was surprised because no one ever reacted that way, you know? So I'm like, why is he crying, you know? But he had that sensitive side of him where it touched him, you know what I mean? Definitely it touched him. Yes.
So the sequel is that Pac, what he told to you?
You know, after that, he was like, I'm putting a group together, you know what I mean?
Okay.
You know, maybe
It was
not
his
at that
ID?
same not at that same sentence, not at that same sitting, I mean, but eventually he just used at the beginning he used to just have me around him, come around. Whenever they come to New York, I would get on the train from New Jersey, because the part of New Jersey I was from is 30 minutes to New York. So I would get on the train ride 30 minutes from New Jersey to New York, and I would chill with him every time. And then eventually things didn't go well where I wanted to move out of New Jersey, and I moved to Atlanta. His house was in Atlanta. So I got out of New Jersey. You know, I really wanted to pursue this rap career. So I went to Atlanta with him. And eventually, man, I just started doing music with the rest of the Outlawz. This is before they was the Outlawz, you know?
But so let me know, what about Castro and all this guy, Idi Amin?
Yes,
it was your homeboy?
Of course, it was family, you know what I mean? And the way I
They all from Jersey?
No. Edie originally from New York. Castro originally from New York. You know, even Pac is originally from New York, but he migrated to Los Angeles, to the Oakland, and then to LA, to the West Coast. You know, he moved to Oakland in his teenage years. That's why he always represent West Coast. But Gaddafi is from New Jersey, Edie from New York originally, but I think Edie at that time was living in Minneapolis. He was born in New York, moved to Minneapolis. Castro at that time was living in Atlanta. but the home base for all of them was New York, you know?
What about Fatal Hussein?
Fatal Hussein is also from Jersey.
Okay.
Fatal, Gaddafi, Young Noble are from Montclair. All from New Jersey, yes.
Okay, so hanging out with Pac
Yes.
made you feel like an untouchable soldier, ain't it?
Of course, you know, when you're young and you're around someone with that magnitude, and back then that's the life that I was inspiring for. So you love everything that comes with it. You know what I
But
mean?
at that time, you lived the student life?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. You know, I really wasn't focusing on school like I was supposed to. It's important, but I wasn't at that particular time.
Okay.
Yes.
Just focus
And then,
on rap?
Just at that particular time, a lot of my focus was on rap. Because I got to say, when I was maybe 17 years old, 16 years old, I was already on records. 15 years old, I was already on records, selling millions of records. So that became something where I said, now I got my shot. You know, in the music, I'm finally getting my chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
I heard that you got kicked from schools. Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
For which reason?
You know, I was a knucklehead, bro. I was very bad. Just keep getting in trouble. They kicked me out of one school, made me go to night school. You know, usually they give you a chance. When you get kicked out of day school, they wanted me to go to night school. And when I tried to go to night school, it didn't work out. You know, I think I got in trouble and it just wasn't for me. It should have been for me. But at that time, when you're a young teenager, you think it's more to the life, you know what I mean? But education is very important. So I always tell kids, no matter what, get your education. You know what I mean?
Great.
Always important.
Cool, really cool. So, Fatal Hussein in an interview told to you that you was a really aggressive guy.
Yes.
You acting tough all the time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You was a whiting out guy.
Yes.
Yeah, is that correct?
It's correct, bro. I was a wild individual.
Really?
Definitely a wild individual. Just because of my environment, the way I came up from, that teenage, you know, as a teenager, you just got this, you know what I mean? I was just wild. I was like a firecracker. You know, thank God that, you know, I was guided away from that, but it definitely was a wild individual.
Mm-hmm. So what about the industry? The
Yes.
pressure, all these things, all this stuff,
Yes.
drugs sometimes, alcohol, made you feel like a real guy or not?
I think that's also what led to my anger issues and aggressiveness is because, you know, the music industry, it promotes drugs. You know, now it's even more, but back then it was just the lifestyle that comes with it, alcohol and drugs. It's just part of the lifestyle. And, you know, once you high or once you drunk or once you intoxicated, your mind is not there. You know what I mean? So it definitely was a very violent environment, you know, to be coming from one environment that's wild, which is the streets. Now you go into the music industry because you want to escape the streets, but everybody involved has the same mentality, you know?
94 Pac
Yes.
got shot.
Yes.
So what was his behavior at that time? Because some people was telling that Pac was a little bit paranoid.
Yes, he was. I think if you got shot, you know what I mean, and somebody tried to set you up, he definitely went to that stage where he didn't really trust too many people. He was paranoid. He didn't really trust too many people. He was, you know what I mean, because he didn't know, you know, really who shot him. You know, even though he had some idea where it came from, but it wasn't nothing really clear. So when you know somebody tried to attempt on your life, but the reality of the matter is that when Pac got shot that first time, it seemed like they didn't really come to kill him. They came to rob him, you know, because if they would have came to kill him, they would have just started shooting as soon as they got him in the elevator. They had a chance, but they wanted to rob him to send a message. But then when Pac tried to grab the gun and stuff like that and pull out his gun, that's when the shots started firing.
Mm-hmm. You
Yes.
told the story about when you seen to visit Pac in the hospital. Maybe you came with a guy with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and Pac was angry against you because
He didn't really
know
like
this
no
guy.
part. Yeah. I think one of my homies drove me there, but I didn't let him come upstairs. But Pac was kind of still upset. Like, he didn't really want people, you know what I mean, to know where he was staying, especially at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So Pac got locked up then,
Yes.
but you signed to Interscope.
Yes, you know a lot, bro. You really did your research. When Pac got locked up, we did sign a contract with Interscope, you know, but we was under the name Dramacidal. Myself, Edie, Castro, At that time, just us four. I think Gaddafi might also been in and out of the studio, but me, Castro, and Edie flew all the way to LA to do an album. And Pac was in jail at that particular time. We signed with Interscope. We was gonna release it through Interscope, but then he got the phone call that he's gonna sign with Suge Knight. So he was like, "I'm not releasing that album."
What was the situation? You was happy for him?
Of course, because he finally had a home, like he had a crew, like we was around him, but we was young guys. You know what I mean? So he was able to really find somebody for him that's gonna push him the way he wanted to be pushed. You know what I mean? Definitely.
And what about Suge? Suge is a boogeyman?
I think, to be honest, man, Suge, he doesn't get a lot of credit for the good he did. We can sit all day and talk about negative stuff because internet is full about all the negative stuff Suge did. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, he's locked up now. So I try to focus on the positive. He did do a lot of good. You know what I mean? Did do a lot of good for people, man. And I think sometimes people forget the good that others do. You know what I mean? Suge did like certain holidays throughout the year. He would go to the neighborhoods at Compton and the ghetto and just feed people for free. He used to, you know what I mean? He spent a lot of money keeping people out of jail. You know what I mean? He did a lot. He did a lot of good. He also made a lot of mistakes, like we all do. We all make mistakes. Ain't nobody perfect. He also, to have a record label, the way he was running it, he made a lot of mistakes. You can't go from the streets, have a multi-million-dollar company, and still behave as if you're in the streets.
Okay. I just want to know, Pac is out of jail. You in the studio, Suge with the blood, Snoop with the Crips, Outlawz and Pac in the middle. What was the atmosphere for a young cat at that time? You was maybe 18?
No. When Pac died, I was 17.
Oh.
So I would say 16.
Okay.
Between 16 and 17, I think, going to Death Row Studio was hostile because of what you just said. Coming from New Jersey back then, we didn't have gang culture. We didn't have Bloods and Crips back then. So, going into a studio where you have really killers inside of that studio. Like Snoop, he had some real Crips that was around him. They was killers. Suge had some people from his neighborhood, all different Bloods and Pyru neighborhoods that was killers. This crew, for a fact, he strapped up. This crew, for a fact, they strapped up. It was a very hostile environment. Drugs, drinking, and all types of stuff used to happen in that studio. People getting beat up, people getting slapped, it was a crazy environment, you know what I mean? But when you young, you look at it like just a pat on the shoulder, like, okay, this is nothing, you know what I mean? But when I look back at it, I say how I don't even know how people function in that environment.
Hey, I heard a story about Nat Dogg. Nat Dogg say he got strapped all the time when we come to the station.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe that's true. I think I heard Nate Dogg say that because you never know what would happen in a place like Death Row Studios at that time. It was so many different gangs involved, different gangs that just, you know what I mean? Some people got chips on their shoulder. They looking to prove something, you know?
May God bless his soul, Nat Dogg.
So it was crazy. Yes.
So let's talk about Pac death.
Yes.
Yeah, September 7th, 96.
Yes, September.
Where you was? You wasn't in Vegas.
I was in Vegas when he died. September 13th, I think he died. He got shot the 7th. He got shot the 7th. But when he got shot, I wasn't in Vegas. When we get the word that he got shot, me, Noble, immediately we drove to Vegas. You know what I mean? We went to Vegas, but when I seen him in the hospital, I knew it was serious. His mother, she always been strong. She's a strong woman. So when you ask her how is Pac doing, she doesn't complain. She always think of God and then say he's okay, he's gonna make it through, he's pulling. But when I actually seen him in the hospital bed, I knew it was more severe than what she told us. So when we got there, a couple of days later, he died. And it was very hurtful because I think at that time, when you're young, you don't really expect it. We didn't really expect it. Pac was like a big brother to us. He was, so to hear the news, he's gone, it really caught everybody off guard. Yes.
And I have to talk about Eat 'Em Up and all these things. So you was in the video, sorry.
Yes.
acting tough.
Acting crazy.
Oh,
know what I
man.
mean?
What was the situation between your side, Biggie's side?
It was tense because of what, when Pac first got shot the first time, he thought because the incident, he go to a studio, he gets shot, Biggie and Puffy and everybody's involved. I can honestly say now, I don't think Biggie had anything to do with it. I don't think so. You know what I mean? So, but back then, people young, people angry. You know what I mean? We don't have all the answers. Maybe if Pac would have been alive today, but everything is written, he probably would have come to a conclusion that Biggie didn't have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? But back then, he wasn't hearing it. He's like, Biggie was in the studio, Puffy was in the studio. They knew this was going to happen to me. And then a song got released after Who Shot You? So that also played, it was bad timing. You know what I mean? It was definitely bad timing.
So did you do your brother's role?
You have to, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff, like when we look back at it, because I was a teenager, I don't agree with it now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But back then, that was our mindset. Of course, I'm Muslim now, alhamdulillah, so my mindset is totally different.
Excellent.
But back then, this was our mindset.
Yeah, exactly,
Definitely.
exactly. So, Mu, after the death of Pac,
Yes.
yeah, you decided to stay in this industry.
Because we wanted to accomplish as Outlawz. We want to continue to do our music. We want to continue to put out, what we started. We wanted to finish that race, which we eventually did. We signed to Death Row, then that didn't work out, so we had to leave Death Row Records, and then we became independent, and put out a few records on our own. So we stayed just doing music, just stayed in. I stayed up into doing music until I became Muslim. You know what I mean? That's when I walked away from it.
I do remember the record, "Baby Don't Cry" with Pac. You understand?
Yes.
Classic joint.
You funny, bro. You did a lot of your research, huh?
Classic joint, for real. So I have to talk about your granny. Your granny passed away few days after Pac's death.
No,
right?
She died before Pac.
Before Pac?
Yes, because Pac even used to shout out in music.
Oh.
He played for us her funeral. She died months before Pac. Months, yes.
Few months?
Few months.
Okay, so what was the situation? Because she means a lot for you. For
My
your
grandmother,
brothers, for you.
especially for my brothers and my sibling. But for me, she was my everything, So losing my grandmother was the hardest death I'd had to deal with. Very difficult, you know what I mean? Probably the hardest situation that I dealt with as far as losing a loved one, A very sweet woman, So when I went out there, Pac was, when he died, by the time I got there, I got off the plane, she was already dead, So he sent me out there and stuff like that. And we had a funeral. I stayed in Jersey for some time. And then eventually I went back. Eventually went back, had to.
So your granny, then Pac. Is that correct, granny?
My granny, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
your granny, then
Yes.
Pac. So you was totally, how do you say that? In shock.
Yeah. It was pain. My grandmother. Few months later, Pac. I think a few months later after that, or Gaddafi. So back to back. You know what I mean? Back to back.
So I have to talk about your cousin, Raji.
Yes. Yes.
He spent 10 years in jail.
I think he did. He been in and out of jail pretty much all his life.
All his life.
Since he was a kid, he always been in and out of jail. He just was an individual that kept making mistakes over and over again, unfortunately.
What is his situation right now?
He's in jail.
Right.
Again, yeah. But he's in jail for drug-related incident, Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the incident in the studio with your little brother.
Yes, my little brother Camille, man, we used to go at it a lot. Of course, when liquor and alcohol is involved, and I think he said something that pretty much got me angry, and then we just started fighting. He had to go to the hospital, get staples and things like that. But this day it was an American Muslim in that studio named Mikhail Camille, who pretty much calmed me down, because I used to get on this just angry and just snap, you know what I mean? And everybody know not to come near me or talk to me, you know what I mean? But he approached me in very calm manner. He was, talking, and he said, "What's your name?" I told him my name is Mutah, and I think he asked, "Where's it from?" I said, "It's a Muslim name." You know what I mean, stuff like that. And eventually, he invited me to the mosque. So eventually, I took his invitation. We went to this masjid in South Central LA, and walking into that place, I would say it changed my life forever. You know what I mean? Because I was able to see people from all different backgrounds. Africans, Black Americans, Asian Arabs, and white Americans, everybody praying together, So it made me real interested to want to know more about this religion.
Okay. So why you decided to live in Saudi?
I moved to Saudi 12 years ago, man. A very safe environment, to raise my kids there. And just to be in an environment that's very safe, you know what I mean? Very safe. And I think Saudi has a lot of potential for so many things, you know what I mean? But
Which one?
Just many, like it's growing as a country, the economy is strong. So to be there, it's amazing, alhamdulillah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So really cool. We want to have some tips.
Yes. Come, man, it's open.
Okay, cool. Right now, you're an entrepreneur.
Trying to be, yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. You create some coffees, ain't it?
I came up with a coffee brand, but my friend is the one who brought it to Saudi Arabia. But we deal with coffee. I always had a lot of love for coffee, and I like coffee. I drink coffee every day. So we were selling specialty coffee from different parts of the world, very high quality coffee. So. And then I'm a partner in a restaurant called Smoky Beers, which is smoked brisket barbecue, like Dallas, Texas style barbecue, American style.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. What about the France? This is your second time or third time?
This is my fourth time in France.
Fourth time?
Hold on. Yeah, this is my third time in Paris, fourth time in France.
Okay. Why you came here?
I came here because the homie, let me show the homie, you know what I mean? Street Burger, shout him out, you know what I mean? So the homies from Street Burger, Red Wine, and I'm a global ambassador for the company, and I do a lot of advertising, marketing for them. They got a basketball event this Saturday. You coming?
Absolutely.
You got to be there, bro.
I'll be there for
real. You gonna play basketball?
No.
Me neither. I'm just watching.
No.
I'm just watching also, bro. So, they got an event that's coming up this Saturday down in Bordeaux. So I had to come through. Great.
Pretty good. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It was really a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
C'était le chairman et 500. Tu peux inverser, les deux sont corrects avec l'homme que l'on nomme Mutah Beale. Anciennement Napoléon pour OuiHustle. Mes paroles valent cher. Peace.
We hustle, baby.